Picture this, it's 1982, sprinklers going in, kids on bikes, a dad grumbling about the mortgage, totally normal suburban street. And then one morning, that same street wakes up millions of years in the past, in the middle of the dinosaur age. That's the entire pitch for the end of Oak Street, and honestly, it's one of the simplest, most fun. Why didn't anyone think about this before concept I have seen in a while? So let's get into it. What this movie is, what it does well, where it stumbles, and whether it's actually worth your time in the movie theaters. Quick spoiler free setup. This is directed and written by David Robert Mitchell. Yeah, the It Follows guy, and it got a pretty stacked cast. Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor plays the parents, Dennis and Greg, and their marriage is already kind of falling apart before any of the dinosaur stuff even starts. Maisy Stella plays their teenage daughter Audrey, who's a total science nerd. Christian Convery plays the younger kid Brian, who's incredibly close with the family dog, Starbuck. Close enough that Starbuck going missing becomes one of the movie's emotional storylines. And that's really the hook of the movie. It's not a team of scientists on an expedition to some remote island. It's a regular kind of unhappy family on a regular street that suddenly has to survive predators outside their front door. The film doesn't spend a ton of time explaining the science either. There's a wormhole, there's a glowing anomaly. Audrey, the daughter, theorizes about it for a minute, and then the movie basically says, okay, moving on, let's survive this. And the run times short too, just 99 minutes. It doesn't drag things out like a lot of movies these days do. Alright, what worked for me? Honestly, the concept alone carries a lot of the movie. There's something genuinely unsettling about watching a front yard turn into a feeding ground or a living room turn into a maze with something hunting in it. These aren't unfamiliar jungle locations, these are places that are supposed to feel safe, and the contrast is where the movie's best moments come from. I also really like that the pacing doesn't drag. You get the family, you get the danger, and then it just keeps moving. There's no long middle stretch where the movie stops the action to explain the backstory of the wormhole or cuts away to scientists and military characters talking about what the anomaly is. It respects that you are here for the family trying to survive, not a science lecture. And there's a couple of legitimately tense sequences, the kind where you can feel something in the frame before the characters notice it, and you just want to yell at the screen. That's clearly the director's horror background showing through, and it's probably the strongest thing he brings to this that a different director might not have. Now, what didn't work as well for me? The science fiction side is also thin by design, and I get why they made that choice, but it does mean you're left with some questions the movie just isn't interested in answering. Why this neighborhood specifically? Why now? Is there a bigger reason behind any of it? None of that gets explored. Some people are going to find that refreshing. I found it left me wanting just a little more. Honestly, the soundtrack and background music didn't do much for me either. Nothing about it really was memorable. No theme, no score moments that stuck with me after leaving the movie theater. That's something that could have pushed the movie even further, especially in the bigger dinosaur sequences. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. This movie borrows a lot from older classics. It reminded me of Jurassic Park, it reminded me of E.T. It's clearly trying to capture that old school Spielberg family adventure feeling. And where you land on that is honestly to depend on how you feel about homage versus imitation. For me, it worked more often than not. There's a nostalgia to it that's genuinely enjoyable, but I get why some people might walk away feeling like it copies these older movies a bit too much instead of doing its own thing. So, final thoughts. Is this the best dinosaur movie ever made? No, not even close, but I don't think it's trying to be that. What it's actually going for is for a fun, tense, well paced survival thriller with a genuinely fresh central idea wrapped in a lot of 80s nostalgia, and on that front, it mostly delivers. It's not a perfect movie, the script could have gone deeper, some of the emotional beats are a little heavy handed, and the tone doesn't always land the transitions smoothly. But as a couple of hours of dinosaurs invade a suburban street, popcorn entertainment, it's a good time. So, my rating for The End of Oak Street, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It's not the dinosaur masterpiece some of us have been waiting years for, but after a lot of disappointing entries in this genre lately, a fresh, fun, surprisingly tense movies like this feels like a win. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like. Let me know in the comments if you have seen it and What are your thoughts of the ending? And subscribe if you are new here. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.